Coming up today, the team behind the team. Meet athletic trainers keeping baseball players of all levels in the game. Good morning, I'm Jessica Lovell and welcome to the Morning Medical Update. Baseball is a game of skill, strategy, and endurance, but behind every great player is a team dedicated to keeping them healthy and on the field. Athletic trainers are often the unsung heroes of the sport, working behind the scenes to prevent injuries, manage rehab, and support athletes at every level. Today, we shine a light on their crucial role in baseball at different levels, from high school to the majors. And this morning, we're talking with Dr. Vincent Key, joining us live from Royals Spring Training in Surprise, Arizona. Dr. Key is head team physician for the Kansas City Royals and an orthopedic surgeon with the University of Kansas Health System. Also joining us from Surprise, right there next to him, Kyle Turner, the head athletic trainer for the Royals. Guys, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good to see you both. And of course, no one understands the importance of athletic trainers more than Dr. Key. And we're happy to have two more certified athletic trainers with us today. Joining me here in studio is Miles Wilcox, who is embedded at Blue Valley North High School in Overland Park. Good to have you right here with me.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here. And on the collegiate level, Jeff Roberts works with Jayhawk athletes as part of Kansas Team Health. Jeff, where are you right now, by the way?
Yeah, good morning, and happy to be here. I'm in Tempe, Arizona, getting ready for the KU baseball series at Arizona State this weekend.
Awesome. Well, so good. Thanks for being up early with us. Well, before we talk about athletic trainers, let's show you exactly what they do. One Jayhawk pitcher is back on the mound after a quick surgery and a not so quick recovery process.
I've played it since I was just a little kid, just like being out there, the emotions that come with it. It's fun.
But the fun and emotions shifted when 22-year-old Patrick Stites, a KU baseball player and prospect for the MLB draft, knew something wasn't right.
Threw a pitch against Central Florida last year. Didn't really hurt, just kind of felt kind of weird. So I didn't really know what was going on. Rested for a little bit and then tried to throw again. Still just wasn't feeling great.
It's sports. Injuries are inevitable. But with the majors in reach, Patrick wasn't taking any chances. He knew he wanted the head team doctor for the Kansas City Royals, orthopedic surgeon, and sports medicine specialist at the University of Kansas Health System, Dr. Vincent Key.
I decided to get an MRI, got that back, and they were like, all right, well, if you want to pitch again, then you got to go get surgery.
Dr. Key performed Tommy John surgery, named after the former MLB pitcher. Key repaired Patrick's ulnar collateral ligament inside his elbow, which connects the bone to the upper arm. When it's torn, it limits movement. The surgery fixed Patrick's elbow so he could get back to the mound. And while most patients schedule a follow-up visit with their doctor, Patrick's doctor paid him one.
I had a couple checkups with Dr. Key and while I was throwing and stuff, and he came down here, which is also really cool, having your surgeon come down to see you.
A full circle moment that got Patrick back to the sport he loves.
You're nervous, you're excited, but once I threw the first pitch, you're just like, all right, like, we're back and let's go.
Jeff, I want to start with you. What does rehab exactly look like from Tommy John surgery?
Yeah, very, very long process. Most individuals that suffer the Tommy John injury, the ulnar collateral ligament injury, take longer than a year to return to participation at a high level, and with appropriate surgical techniques in the hands of somebody like Vince, and then diligent efforts on the part of the student athlete and everybody that's involved in providing care to them, we were able to get Patrick back on the mound. He's just a little bit shy of 11 months post-operative right now, and he's already pitched in 4 games for us this spring. Kind of building his capacity up as the season progresses, but he's just doing fantastic.
What does that recovery plan look like? How collaborative is it when it comes to like the coaches, the parents, and the athlete themselves?
Yeah, it's crucial. I mean, certainly the student athlete is the most important. The patient is the most important part of that. But you know, the physician that does the surgery is crucial in, first and foremost, performing the operation and getting things squared away on that front, and then directing the care. And you know, I get to see Patrick every single day, so I get to provide care for him on days when he's having a great day. I get to provide care for him on days when he's not having a great day. I get to push him. I get to hold him back. I get to celebrate with him. I get to console him. You know, all the things that go along with that, you know, through early range of motion stuff, and then building strength, and then gradually as time progresses, reintroducing baseball related activities, so you know, all the way up to him, you know, pitching as you see on the video there in games for us this spring.
Yeah, you get to see the whole magic happen. I love that.
Yes, ma'am.
Dr. Key, fair to say you perform a lot of these surgeries. One of your specialties, I wouldn't say you do this in your sleep, but kind of. So why are pitchers in particular prone to needing Tommy John surgery? Kind of explain that.
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with wear and tear over time. I mean, it's just like a tire. You know, your tire tread is better driving from Kansas City to Lawrence as opposed to driving from Kansas City to Los Angeles. So that has a lot to do with it. What's called their kinetic chain, meaning their shoulder, their scapula, and their lower half, and their core also has things to do with it. So it's an element of both. And the thing is that starting usually at about 13 years old, they have to get themselves ready to throw. It's just not a matter of just throwing. And everyone always concentrates on the elbow, but the elbow is usually a victim of everything else not being right. So that's what it is initially, is getting themselves ready to throw, getting their bodies ready to throw, and then also controlling the volume of how much they're throwing.
Kyle, what's the difference, is there one, with a professional player rehabbing from Tommy John compared to maybe a college or high school player?
Well, the obvious is the money associated with it.
Yeah.
But the body's the same. They're doing no different than we are at the major league level. Jeff's went through the same experience that we're going to go through with a number of our players. Chris Bubik is coming off his second year pitching after a Tommy John surgery this year, and he went through the same process. His was 14 months long, and last year he had to adapt and pitch out of our bullpen as part of the process. I guess though a major difference is we have these guys in our laps 7 days a week for 10, 12 months if we want them. So that would be a major difference in the rehab part of it, is the access. They're not having to go to school and maintain a GPA and whatnot. This is what they do for a living. So, you know, just the total access to the player is increased with us.
Well, that brings us to our high schoolers. So let's bring in Miles. So on a high school level, how involved are parents in the rehab process? I would imagine.
Yeah.
They got their nose right in it.
Yeah. So a kid will typically have formal physical therapy once or twice a week, and then I might get to see him once or twice a week. So those other couple days, the kids are at home. Parents are ensuring that they're doing their home exercises program. So parents are very involved.
And high schoolers, they need and can get Tommy John surgery, I would imagine, right? How often is this happening for them?
Yeah, unfortunately, the prevalence is going up. A lot of pressure from over-specialization, pressure to perform, and then sometimes kids just don't really know when to pull it back. So they'll try to throw through some pain, and before you know it, it's time to go see Dr. Key.
I bet. All right, well, we asked some Royals players down in Surprise how athletic trainers help the team.
I think at times as athletes we just want to run and gun and keep going, and we think more is always better. So you know, just having those guys there to remind you, hey, you got to manage your workload, and it's a long season. So you know, usually they're right.
Those guys are the backbone, man. They keep the guys out on the field. Their work is invaluable, and it often goes unnoticed unless something goes wrong, and then people try to point the finger. But these guys work as hard as anybody, and you know, they have the most education of anybody in that room too, so you respect a lot of what they do.
It's another resource that they're able to have and kind of help with understanding, you know, how your body moves, what you want to, you know, get out of daily activity in terms of recovery and just your overall preparation.
They keep me on the field. They do a great job getting us ready each day, recovery, working out things, soft tissue. They really are the magic workers that make us play every day.
Dr. Key, how important is the collaboration between the doctors, the athletic trainers, the coaches in keeping athletes healthy? I mean, the collaboration, or just what does it look like?
Well, it's extremely important. Everyone has a role, but we all work together. And I usually break it up into thirds. What I do is a third, what the athlete does is a third, and what the trainer does is a third. Everyone does their job, it's 100%. But one person doesn't do their job, it's 66.67%. So it's extremely important. Everyone needs to be on the same page and just kind of understanding the athlete having the same message, whether it's from me, whether it's from KT, it's the same message. So that's extremely important in terms of how we treat the athlete.
Kyle, can you give us a better idea of everything you do down there? We focus on rehab, but what else are you doing?
Yeah, hopefully we're doing more prehab than rehab. That's our goal all the time, is to keep guys on the field and keep them healthy. So, the daily routine starts early in the morning. I'll use Sally for example. He'll probably be in here in the next 15 minutes and start his workout for the day. So all this plays a role in keeping them healthy on a daily basis, and the workload we kind of manage their workload. We manage the volume that gets put on them every single day. A lot of guys are using biometrics and electronics to help keep track of that. So we're not just running them every single day. We're a little different than every other sport. We're going to play for the next 250 days when we get to spring training. So that overall outlook of a plan in place for these guys is very important on the front end, so that we are playing baseball in October and our main pieces are still playing.
Do I dare ask when you get there in the morning and when do you leave? What do work schedules look like down there?
I usually arrive around 5:30, and if I get home before 6 or 6:30, it's a miracle.
Dr. Key, same thing?
No, KT, I'm old, so I can't come in like he does. I usually get in at about 7:30, 8 o'clock. We do have a medical meeting with all of our trainers, therapists, strength and conditioning guys, to kind of get set for the day. And then usually will leave probably 30 to 45 minutes after the end of the game. So mine's a little bit shorter than KT's.
Well, Jeff, outside of rehab from an injury, what else are you doing as an athletic trainer? Tell us a little bit about what you're doing.
Sure. As Kyle alluded to, a lot of what we do is risk minimization and injury prevention stuff. If you think the average person goes and sees their healthcare professional when something's wrong, and we have an opportunity with the patients that we interact with to see them on a daily basis and hopefully do a whole bunch of different things with them to help minimize the need for them to have to make those kinds of visits to their healthcare professionals and see us on a regular basis to do maintenance work and to prevent injury. So, an awful lot of time spent in that arena, in addition to, of course, identifying injuries if and when they happen, because it's kind of inherent in physical activity. And then when, the more significant pathologies occur, then working with, the other people that are part of the health system to navigate forward and push those individuals back towards doing what they love to do.
Well, Miles, kind of help us understand about your work day, where you work, because you work with the health system. You're not coming here to the hospital every day, right?
Correct. Yep. So I am employed through the health system. The health system has many partnerships with many high schools in the Kansas City area. So, our youth sports medicine department has over 20 athletic trainers placed at high schools and middle schools across the Kansas City area. So we're providing care and coverage, from 200 to 400 student athletes at a time, and then when the time comes, providing direct access to our physicians.
And high schoolers, as we know, they don't have the same access to medical professionals as maybe college and pro players do. Not that like eagle eye on them that we've been talking about this morning. But so how crucial does that make your role in keeping them healthy?
Yeah, so kind of the first line of defense, really advocating for the student athlete, communication with the parents, the coaches, if need be with the school nurse. So we kind of got our hands in a lot of the different cookie jars, doing a lot of different things.
How important is mental health? Just is what we're talking about overall athletes' health in general. And I know there's a program that you guys follow as well.
Yeah, very, very important. Pretty fortunate because the hospital does a lot of training with us, QPR training, and a lot of the school districts are also implementing a lot of mental health training for the coaches and the staff. So a lot of awareness, we're well prepared and we're well equipped.
I want to ask everybody about that too. It just seems like it's so important, and I don't want to overlook it anytime we bring up mental health. On the collegiate level, I'm gonna throw that out to you.
Yeah, I think every single day there's a mental health component to my interactions with the student athletes. You know, asking them how they're feeling, how they're doing. You get to know them pretty well. You know, when we travel, we're on the road right now. When we left on Monday, and we won't get back until Sunday night. So you get to know their mannerisms, and you can kind of tell if somebody's having a bad day and if something's going on in, you know, their family life or their home life or with their girlfriend or with their roommate or something like that. So, you know, being able to navigate forward and kind of help them, you know, rise above some of the challenges and obstacles that present, you know, in everyday life is inherent to the role, and it's a really important part of the interpersonal relationships between myself and the patients that I'm taking care of.
All right, Kyle, Dr. Key, you know, do you know when there's something up with these guys? And do you do you do the check-ins?
Well, yeah, as Dr. Key mentioned, we have a morning medical meeting that involves not just our medical team, but our behavioral science, our sports psychologist, our sports medicine team, our nutritionist is involved in it every single morning. So we do check-ins with our people and across all departments. So Melissa Lambert is part of it, and she's in every meeting every single morning. And I actually see these players, like Jeff alluded to, I see these players more than I see my own family and kids. So I know when something's going on with them, and they come to us quite frequently as athletic trainers. I think we're probably 80% psychologists and 20% athletic trainers a lot of times. These guys are under a lot of stress. The performance anxiety is real. Performing at the highest level and a lot of eyes on you every single night. And baseball is a game of failure. These guys will go, you know, unfortunately, they'll go a week without getting a hit or having success, and the media is all over them. Their families are starting to wonder what's going on, and a lot of these guys, their jobs are at stake every time they're not performing. So it's very, very high stress for them.
Dr. Key, I'd love to hear your insight on that.
No, I think KT's right, and the pressure's there. The pressure's real. I mean, these guys are feeding their families based on their performance, and so that performance anxiety is real. Getting to see them every day, being able to interact with them. I mean, mine is more, KT's is day to day. Mine during the season. You know, when they're in town, I'm there most of the time. When they're out of town, I don't see them. But the thing is checking in with these guys, especially some of our injured guys who get left back in KC. I may see them in the office, but the main thing with them is not the injury. It's like, how are you doing? And starting with that and getting a sense of the athlete, I think is extremely important.
Well, be sure to ask your questions. You can use the chat on YouTube or Facebook. You can email the Medical News Network. That information is there on your screen. Kyle, I want to ask you, what advances in sports medicine have helped improve recovery times and outcomes for baseball players, in your opinion?
Oh, geez, it's endless. Red light laser is kind of the thing going on right now. You know, we have everything from cryotherapy to hyperbaric chambers. We use a ton of aquatic therapy, the hot and cold plunges. But the kind of the trend right now is shockwave therapy, kind of combined with red light and lasers. But it's really difficult to keep up, to be honest with you. It seems like every year there's 3 or 4 new modalities that we kind of have to be versed on and be able to provide it for our players. And a lot of these guys are training outside of our hands in the winter, and they come with new ideas every spring training. So it's kind of exciting to see what else is out there from their point of view as well.
All right, what's the laser?
It's just a high intensity red light therapy, I guess. Okay. You can go to class 4 where it has a thermal portion to it, or you can go down to a class 2 where it's really just red lights going on, and it's increases blood flow in areas, which essentially promotes healing. So.
Okay. All right. Well, we know some injuries are preventable. Dr. Key, what steps should maybe young pitchers take to avoid overuse, some of those overuse injuries?
Well, I think it starts with prehab, just like KT said. And that's our mantra, prehab, so we don't have to rehab, is, again, getting themselves ready. So if it's a high schooler that's going into baseball season and they're a pitcher, then they need to start their kinetic change stuff, meaning stretching out, stretching, strengthening, things like that, about 8 weeks prior to tryouts. If it's a position player, I usually say about 6 weeks. And again, getting the bodies ready, because they don't think of it that way. They think they can just get up, go play, no issues, no problems. But these are bigger, stronger individuals who are performing the sport. And again, I think, it's just getting their bodies ready and not having to get in a situation where they get into issues that certainly could be preventable.
Jeff, what about you? Best advice for injury prevention?
Yeah, I tell the guys all the time, it's really, really hard to be too strong. And so our guys spend a lot of time in the weight room. We've got a game this evening, and they're going to go to the weight room here at Arizona State this morning and get a quick, easy workout in just to kind of get things moving. And I also really preach to them, along the lines of just prevention of taking care of their bodies, hydration, nutrition, and rest. Super, super key components to things. And if they subscribe to that on a regular basis, they're going to put themselves in a position to, 1, stay healthy, and 2, have greater likelihood of success.
Miles, what do you tell high school athletes?
Yeah, just to piggyback off what Jeff said, the foundation, plenty of sleep, plenty of fluid, eating right, and then a lot of kids kind of avoid the weight room at the high school level because they think it's going to make them too big and they're not going to be fast enough or strong enough. So getting into the weight room and getting stronger, and then when I get my time with them, really back to the basis again of moving well as opposed to doing too much.
Let's get to some questions from our viewers this morning. Stuart wants to know, do kids throw harder than they used to? And if so, why is that? Who wants to answer that one?
Well, I'll tell you, from a major league level, it's absolutely true. We've seen a rise in velocity over the last 8 to 10 years at a pretty significant level, about 1.5 miles, 2 miles per hour. Which, when you're considering these guys are already throwing 95 and they're throwing now 97 and 98 miles per hour, it's a big jump. And I would say that at the youth level, which I don't see it every day, but we do keep current with the research on it. It's definitely happening there, and everybody's chasing velocity because velocity is what gets you paid at the major league level.
Sean wants to know, do younger pitchers recover faster from Tommy John surgery than older pitchers? Or is it just case by case?
I think it's case by case, but in general, no. Humans are humans, no matter if they're 14 or 24. I think the thing is access to rehab. Again, when you got a 16, 17-year-old kid coming back from a reconstruction, again, they're only seeing the therapist once or twice a week. They may see their trainer another once or twice, and that's it. At the college and professional levels, they're seeing them every day. So the healing is the same. It's the functionality that may be better or quicker at the collegiate and the professional level than the high school level.
Amy wants to know, what would baseball look like without athletic trainers in the mix?
Well, unfortunately, we have that now. That happens in youth sports, and it happens at a lot of places in the high school level where there isn't a certified athletic trainer available on a regular basis for those young players to have access to and to ask questions of and to receive care from. So it's happening now, and when one of those individuals that doesn't have access to a certified athletic trainer suffers an injury, then the question becomes who's managing that and who's guiding that process, and are the right things being done or are mistakes being made?
So, Jeff, I would just want to ask you, what do you want the big takeaway today to be for those listening and watching? What's the big takeaway today?
Yeah, I tell our guys all the time, our initial meeting when I introduced myself to them this year, I was like, don't let little things become big things. So if there's something's going on, you start to feel something wherever that is within your body, even if it's not, a quote unquote injury per se, let's attack it right away. Let's deal with it so that it doesn't have the opportunity to progress, become something that impacts the ability to do what they do and their time on the field.
All right, Miles, what's the big takeaway?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is access to care. Athletic trainers are everywhere these days, and a lot of people don't know that. So for anybody at the high school setting, there's more than likely an athletic trainer there. So get in touch with your administration or, come and find us and let us help however we can.
Are kids talking more and bringing up things and injuries more? That's always, people ask that a lot on this show, is like, are kids coming and like bringing up injuries more when they're younger to get help?
Are they bringing... Yeah, so are they, I guess I don't
especially
understand.
when like concussion, when the conversation of concussion comes up and like when they have an injury, are they coming up to you and saying, hey, I think something's going on with me?
Awareness. So a lot of preseason education on signs and symptoms to be aware of. Yeah. And so when a kid takes a hit and they don't feel right, they're doing better as far as not trying to tough it up, and they come to us and they let us kind of do our job and, discern really what's going on.
And get checked out.
Yeah, and get checked out.
Okay,
yeah.
All right, let's do it. All right. Guys, out in surprise. Kyle, what's the big takeaway today?
Probably for me, it's education in youth sports. I mean, we talk about it amongst athletic trainers at the major league level and the physicians here that, and we talk about Tommy John is almost become a pandemic. We're seeing the numbers just rise through the roof, and there's several people on a pathway to how can we recurve this and reset the norm. They are going to happen. We're doing an unnatural motion, but the numbers don't have to be what they are today. So the takeaway is, continue on the path of how do we educate the public and the youth sports and the parents in volume control and velocity control and really, and I'll get into the baseball side of it, is we want guys to have command over velocity. If the velocity is a byproduct of being mechanically sound, and if you can do that, you can prevent a lot of injuries.
Dr. Key, what's the big takeaway today?
I think I concur with all the guys. I think education is key. And the big thing what KT just said is command over velocity. A lot of people, that's all they see because that's all you look at. And the thing is, if you can teach a kid how to pitch, they'll be a lot better off. The velocity will come with time. But educating the parents, educating the coaches, and learning from everyone. I've learned from this guy more than anyone. Between him and Nick Kinney and all these guys, I mean, we've all been together for about 15 years. So education is key for everyone, but especially for the parents, coaches, for the betterment of the athlete.
All right, guys, thanks so much. Well, hopefully we'll see you back here in postseason.
Sure thing.
That's the goal.
That's always the goal. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks to all of our guests today, and thanks to our guests for being here with us. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
Mom in labor, dad behind the wheel, and still miles away from the hospital. On the next morning medical update, a happy, healthy baby born on the side of the road. A true story from one of America's many maternity deserts. Monday at 8.
Subscribe to our morning medical update and Open Mics with Dr. Stites podcast. Now everywhere podcasts are available.